This episode of the Flush Podcast is brought to you by Onyx Hunt, Marshwear Clothing, Waltons, Aluma Trailers, Game Virtual Shooting Simulators, Aberdeen, South Dakota, Compier Home, and by Hoxie Native Seeds. Today, we begin an in-depth bird dog training series with Sonny Piekarz, Jordan Wells, and George Lyall. We're calling this first episode Bird Dog Puppy Development. We will guide you through the process of purchasing a dog that fits your hunting and family lifestyle. Then we'll take you through important steps that follow when you bring the puppy home. We'll discuss crate training, sleep and potty training, becoming a leader, building confidence in your puppy, physical touch, and introducing them to birds and gunfire. Plus, a whole lot more. Boys, you ready?
Ready.
Absolutely.
Here we go. Welcome to another episode of the Flush Podcast. This is in video format today. Big Al is our producer. We are at the Minnesota Horse and Hunt Club in one of their beautiful log cabins. This is a place that you can reserve. It's part of their on-site venue if you want to host a wedding or something like that. This is an old rustic cabin. As you can see, guys, it's a perfect setting, we feel like, to host what we're about to do. And we're going to break down the process, the training steps, and how to understand a dog so that you can, if you want, find the dog that's right for you and work with that dog from the moment you pick it up to the moment that dog is bringing a bird back to hand out in the field. A finished dog, a pro out there, right? Is there another name for that dog when it's all just steady?
I'd say a happy dog.
Yeah.
And better yet, not really worried about the dog. I'm worried about the owner.
Okay.
So a happy owner.
There you go. Right. So from the puppy to finish stage, that's what we're going to do. Today, we're going to start with puppy development. I have Sonny Piekarz, Jordan Wells, and George Lyall. Now, if you listened to last week's episode, we did have a couple of dog owners on the show that talked about some of the struggles they went through, kind of explained a little bit about getting into the mindset. You guys have really spent a lot of time understanding what's going on in a dog's brain. You've come up with the method dog training system, and you provide seminars to people that show up and you help them work with their dog and then see you working with other dogs to really grasp what's going on. And so that's why we want to do a video portion today. We have a finished dog. We also have a puppy. How old is the puppy?
14 weeks.
14 weeks. Okay. So we're going to work hands-on with a couple of dogs today. And if you want to listen to this, we're going to walk through it. If you want to watch this, you can listen and see us handling the dogs. When I say us, I mean you guys, because you're the pros. Sonny, how long you been doing this?
30 years.
Okay. Jordan, how long you been working with dogs?
Since 2010, just over, 12 years.
J. Wells Kennels out of Connecticut. Sonny, you're based in Wisconsin. Hay Creek Kennels. You've been working with how many dogs in your lifetime? Any guess?
Hundreds. Started with upland dogs, guiding professionally across the United States. From there, went to upland into obedience, and currently working single-purpose detection dogs.
Okay. So your life has revolved around dogs and understanding dogs.
My whole world has been dogs.
Dogs. Jordan, same for you pretty much, huh?
Yeah, I grew up with dogs, big into bird hunting, and it just got deeper and deeper into wanting to be a dog trainer.
Okay. So you can learn more about each one of these individuals because I've had them on the show multiple times. You can go back and do a search and hear their entire stories if you want to. But for today, we're going to just jump right into it. Sorry, George, I didn't introduce you. I feel like you've been introduced so many times, but go ahead and just give us a little bit about yourself.
That's fine. That's fine, Travis. Just go right on by me. I mean, I'm good with that. Roughly 30 years of working with dogs, working with people, helping people out to get a better dog out of them and hopefully make them a better person. So spend most of my time upland hunting. And so my dog training focuses on upland hunting. not necessarily field trials and stuff like that. So
Yep. You're out in the field. You and I have hunted all over North America together.
We
Some
have.
of the finest bird dogs I've ever watched in the field, which is why I have trusted everything you've told me since day one. And I believe it's helped me get where I am today. Ultimately, our goal today is to help people understand their dogs. Every dog and every handler comes into this in a different mindset, a different dog, a different breed, right? But at the end of the day, they're all dogs, right? Sonny, you say this all the time. Is there anything else you want me to mention before we get into this, or the mindset of a dog being different for a different breed? Is it all the same?
Run with it. We'll get the pace. Or do we go right now with the
Yeah,
different
I'm
breeds?
asking you. We're talking here. So what, like, to understand a dog breed, they're all canines.
Starting with the end in mind. What are you trying to accomplish with a finished product? Make sure that you've got the dog that's going to suit the bill for what it is you're trying to do,
Mm-hmm.
and then trust your breeder. Look for red flags with your breeder, but trust your breeder to the point where they're almost going to be the one helping you pick the puppy. Don't necessarily pick the puppy that runs up to you and you feel like you have this bond. Trust the breeder. Listen to the breeder from the lesser dominant dog to the more dominant dog to the dog that's in the middle, and just make sure that you are starting with the end in mind, what you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah. I think more of what I was aiming for there is that you've worked with every breed.
Yep.
A dog's a dog.
Yes.
Okay. So somebody might say, I've got a GSP. Next person listening might say, I have a lab. There's a flusher. There's a pointer. What we're explaining today is a dog. And
Yes.
this applies to every dog,
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely.
All right. So before you pick up a dog, right, we're going to jump in. I've got some notes here, and I'm going to try to help lead this conversation to just keep us moving down the track. But before somebody picks out a dog, Jordan, what should they be thinking about?
I think, like Sonny said, the end goal in mind. What is going to be the purpose of that dog, and make sure they start looking at the correct breed. Then they should do some research on trainers, apprentice, to go meet with those trainers, even spend a day, half day, pay for it. See how that trainer trains dogs, see how that trainer interacts, what the dogs look like, and do that with 3 to 4 different trainers. So if you do get stuck with that puppy, you have somebody to call right away instead of waiting till it's too late. But that prerequisite of getting all that information before you get that puppy is very important, because you're not going to run into, like, it's too late, I missed the ball, So that's a very important stage, is doing your research and doing all those prerequisites.
Yeah, because I think what we're going to try to explain here is going to cover about an hour. And the reality is this is going to be 6 months of your life when you bring a dog home. We were talking yesterday that a lot of times people bring home a puppy and then they realize they might not have a plan. So realistically, you want to plan like 2 years. Is that kind of what you're thinking for bringing a dog? You want to look out like 2 years. Do I have the time to work with this dog? Is my life in a state where I can spend time giving the dog what they need, giving the dog the exercise, the stimulation, the time with that dog to help them reach their full potential? And it shouldn't be a scary thing. It should be just something that people need to realize. This is an important part of my role in bringing a dog home, is that it's not we have a puppy and now put him in the box or let him run wild, because you're setting yourself up for potentially 10, 12, 14, 15 years of a pain in the butt, right?
Frustration.
Yeah.
You have to think about what you're about to invest in. And that investment is that puppy, and 2 years, 3 years down the road, what's that going to look like? And if you spend the time up front and you have a game plan, 2 years later, from the time you started, now you can relax a little bit. But I think about, like, people that like to golf. Right now it's springtime, they're getting ready to go golfing. They're probably cleaning up their equipment. That's like having the puppy. You're getting everything organized and cleaned up, and you're ready, and maybe you go hit a few balls. That's the puppy development. We're hanging out with the puppy.
Yep.
Then you go to the driving range. That's the next step. You think about all these stuff, or you fish or whatever. Think of all the prep work you put into that. Well, now you just invest in this puppy and bringing it into your family. You need to take a hard look at what that is going to really look like in your life. And now you might not be able to go golfing every Saturday. You might not be able to go fishing every weekend or whatever. You need to really focus on that pup, and that you need to put that other stuff on the back burner, because 2 or 3 years down the road, you'll be able to go back and go golfing because that dog's going to be able to hang out because you did all your homework and all the steps leading up to that.
This is a real investment up front that's going to pay off long term. The first 6 months are so critical, right? You're talking learned behaviors that you can mold to help that dog fit into the pack right away. If you don't hit them there or work on them, that's going to continue potentially for the rest of that dog's life. So that's why we're saying have a plan in place. Now, make sure you also find a breed of dog that fits your lifestyle, that fits your hunting goals. I mean, we've got a big running English pointer over here, and that dog is a bird hunting machine. But you've also got the ability to let the dog out and get some of that exercise, and that's your style of hunting. It might not be the right breed for everybody in every situation. So understanding how dog breeds are different and their skill sets in the field, that's an important part of the process. So we assume people are going to do their research at this point and find a puppy, right? Now, should we show them potentially what a finished dog looks like, George? Do you want to bring yours out of the kennel?
Absolutely. Let's take it one step back, and I mean, we kind of alluded to it, but we're about to bring out a 3-year-old English pointer who's been through all the steps we're going to talk about today and following podcasts. So,
and just real quick on, to back this up just a little bit again, the idea that the old saying of 2 is 1 and 1 is none, not just having a plan, but having a plan B. And try not to be just reacting to situations. Try to visualize potential things that could happen so that you can get out in front of them as they do happen, so that you're creating the absolute best behavior you can going forward.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see here. We got Rip.
We got Rip here, and I'm going to take the headset off, and the boys are going to talk you through it.
Okay. All right. So we got Rip in the crate right now. All right. So what does George have there?
Piece of rope, a lead, the absolute best piece of rope that we have for the purpose.
Okay. And why? Why is that?
The release. This is everybody and their brothers using this. It is absolutely the best piece of equipment made. Delmer designed it, and it's the release that it will apply.
Yep.
The least amount of pressure that we can apply, the better off we're going to be.
All right, George, you're going into the kennel. He's going to open this up. Rip.
So what we're starting, even the day you bring that puppy home, you can see as an older dog, the dog understands its job kind of at that crate door. But what's going on even deeper is George and this dog are having a conversation primarily right now, and this dog is starting to look for direction already. So instead of letting that dog as a puppy bolt out and try to do this later in life, George started as a baby puppy. So at this point in its life, it's very easy. It's very willing. But this dog, with all its body language it's going through right now, is looking to George. It's showing him a lot of receptiveness that George has value for him. So a lot just went on just with opening that door. And that's something you can work on every morning. You go to let your dog out in the morning, the first thing people are doing is going to their crate. You can do a lot of this stuff, and this is kind of what it should look like when it's done right.
Yep.
And this is the tailgate talk right here that you'll see at a seminar. And if you can grasp this and be able to apply this, you're going to curb 50 to 75% of all your issues that are going to be happening in the future.
Rip is getting bored with us here, and he's waiting for George's command, but he took one step slowly out to test. And George lightly closed the door again.
As soon as we're not paying attention to the dog, they're going to try to fill that void, and that's going to be every day. The dog's a living animal. He's looking for that validation, and as soon as George relaxes and doesn't pay attention, most dogs are going to try to, that are well-bred, move into that spot. So the dogs will test every day of their life till, their life is over.
All right, bring him on out, George. All right, so he slipped the lead over.
You can see the dog accepted the lead. He didn't try to avoid it. The dog comes out, and he's not running to the end. He's not sporadic. He's kind of waiting on George to give a little bit of direction here.
All right.
And you can see George stepped off with just body language. Body language is the lightest amount of communication we can offer a dog. Dogs can do it with each other. Their whole world is body language and touch. So if the dog does go out and, start not paying attention, George can use that lead to communicate, to interrupt that train of thought and get that dog to pay attention again. But everything he's doing is leading with his body. And that's a very, very effective form of communication that people don't even think about.
One of the hardest things that we've had with the public is the human wants to be able to tell the dog what to do. So they get into a habit.
Verbally talking?
Verbally and communicate through the lead, so that they get into a habit of is cueing the dog to get off or cueing the dog to get on. And back to what Jordan was talking about, your body is the least amount of communication to give to the animal. So in theory, if George moves off, that dog should just go with.
Everyone uses a leash for a form of restraint, a way to, make sure your dog doesn't run away from you. If you truly build this relationship that we're talking about, this dog is standing there because George is standing there. This dog is going to move because George is moving. There's a very powerful connection there that's, not technique-based, but it's relationship-based.
So for people that aren't watching the video and they're just listening to us while they're driving, right now, Rip is standing on a table. We made it here with a couch cushion, and then we used a table that you might use outside. In a second, we're going to lower it so that the puppy can climb on it as well. But right now, Rip is just standing there. And would you say this dog is doing what you're hoping he would do? I mean, he's not doing anything to the average eye right now.
If you can see it, this is magical, because what's happening is his dog is very, very comfortable within his own skin. He feels good. So with that, he's very receptive for information and instruction. All the noise has been put aside, and there's just nothing more than this communication going on between the two of them, where he's asking for instruction. This asking for instruction here could be out at 350, 450, 550 yards to still maintain connection and communication to us.
And the dog, body language wise, people have in their head that a happy dog is a dog tap dancing, spinning, jumping, barking. That's a very stressed animal. A dog that's very receptive, very relaxed, a calm state of mind, that's a great, peaceful mindset to be in. And this is what a dog looks like when they're in it.
Is that tail telling you anything? Is that a happy tail? He's just wiggling it lightly down there?
Just a little bit of a passiveness to him. He's just, in a really good, calm state of mind, waiting for direction. So happy.
And he's very neutral. He's extremely relaxed. He's very neutral. His tail's in a neutral spot. His head is in a neutral spot. His muscle tone is very soft. His head movement is very slow. His eyes have a little bit of a blink. Those are all signs of him being extremely receptive to what it is they're going to do. Probably from his point of view, I'm going to assume that this is the first time that this dog has been in a podcast or a video cast on a board in the middle of this cabin.
Well, he's a television star, but he's never been in this cabin before.
This is brand new, and he's very, very receptive to what it is they're going to do based on relationship.
Because he trusts George, and he trusts that he's going to be put in a really good position here. All right, so George is now doing what? This is the physical touch, the calming touch, right?
But you can see in this relationship, there's no real challenge going on. George isn't challenging the dog isn't challenging back, so we don't see that jumping or moving into space or that roughhousing. So when George approached and put his hands on the dog went to a very, surrender state of mind, a very receptive state of mind, not an intimidated state of mind. So the relationship in the way George approached the dog, the way George is touching the dog, it's not for reward. It's not for, I love you. It's more for acceptance of touch. They're making a connection through touch. So the way that George is putting his hands on the dog is telling the dog a lot. There's not a lot of challenge from George's hands. Most people that get dogs, we roughhouse, we play with them. Our hands come out. It's a form of challenge, and all of a sudden they start challenging back. So touch is very important. And Sonny, you want to jump in a little bit deeper?
And the touch probably for me it's more important for the human, because this fast-paced world that we live in with absolutely no time, and we're in a hurry to get from A to B and then from C to D, this is helping the human get in the mode and get in the trenches with the animal, that we're actually taking the human and turning him into a dog, rather than trying to take the dog and turn him into a human.
And you could have seen way back with a mom with her litter of puppies, mom can approach her puppies and you would see the same receptiveness for mom as this dog has for George right now. They would have a lot of value for her. She can move up to them. They don't challenge her. There's a lot of communication that's going on right now of just the way that you stand around your dog, the way that you touch your dog. And this is a big piece that people, miss when they're raising a puppy. And then all of a sudden, nobody can come over the house because the dog is jumping all over them. Nobody can touch them because now they're starting to nip and bite. So you can start this stuff very, very young. And then at 3 years old, it's just a finished product by then.
This is what we're going to get to. But in order to get there, we have to bring a puppy home. All right, so let's do it. Let's take Rip off there, buddy. Gosh, what a good-looking dog. All right, there goes Rip. In a second here, we're going to have another puppy in. Now, when you go to pick up this puppy, you've done your research, Sonny. You know which one you're going to get, and you know why you're bringing this puppy home. But the day comes. You're going to pick up a puppy. What are you going to do? What are you bringing with you? Where's the dog going?
So you have your game plan is in place. You trust your breeder. The breeder has helped you actually pick the puppy that's going to fit the bill. You've got your crate set up to come home, and you're coming home with a game plan. The game plan is going to start.
Yep. All right. So Jordan is moving our set a little bit here, and we've just raised it a little bit because, again, we're working. Typically, we'd be doing a lot of this either on the floor or outside, but for video purposes today, to make sure everybody can see everything, we're trying to make sure that we've got this set up accordingly.
And to add to that, you're coming home with that brand new baby puppy, and I know it's hard and it's not a human trait, but to try to keep your emotion with in check to some extent.
Okay.
Just be real level. Be real flat, be just middle of the road. Nothing's real happy, nothing's real sad, just very neutral so that puppy has something to follow.
But I think that's really difficult. You're very excited. People are excited. This is a major life event. Okay? So telling somebody to just be neutral, not to be happy, I don't know if that's realistic.
It's probably not.
It's a new year, but some things stay the same, like the onX Hunt app being one of the most valuable hunting tools I take into the field every single day. I'd feel lost without it, both literally and figuratively. The app is a compass that's ideal for us bird hunters. It shows our position on planet Earth and the land boundaries. It also shows us information about crops and fields and tree covers. You can use the app in CarPlay and Android Auto. You can look at land in 3D to understand terrain. You can create your own trails, check weather, add waypoints, send your location to friends, scout property, find landowners, create your own diary of successful hunts, and so much more. They are also huge supporters of the best conservation organizations in North America, and onX is always working to create more publicly accessible places for you and I to hunt. What's not to love about the app? The onX Hunt app is awesome. Try it for free for yourself at onxhunt.com. If you're one of the lucky hunters that harvested your own tasty wild game this hunting season, then I want to personally congratulate you on your success. Well done. And if you want to make the most of all that hard-earned meat, then I recommend you head over to waltons.com. They have everything but the meat. That's their motto. They have all the tools to help you process and prepare your meat, like grinders, mixers, stuffers, slicers, smokers, grills, and seasonings. They have thousands of items in stock and ready to ship the same day. They've also recently launched their own dry curing cabinet and a whole line of chambered vacuum sealers, from large commercial-grade sealers to smaller handheld models. And let me tell you, they are awesome. This year, John Tremblay and his team at Waltons are really focused on adding new content to their Meatgistics library to help all of us hunters make the most of our meat. All of that can be found at waltons.com, and you can listen to their own weekly Meatgistics podcast too. I'm happy to call the hardworking team at Waltons my friends, and I believe they will treat you like one if you choose to trust them with your own meat processing needs. Find everything they have to offer at waltons.com. Spring is here, and so is the new Spring Drop line of clothes from Marshwear Clothing. Marshwear is one of the fastest-growing clothing brands in the outdoors today. Rooted in the tides of Charleston, South Carolina, Marshwear brings their saltwater fishing and hunting lifestyle nationwide to all of us in pursuit of good times in the outdoors. I've been wearing their clothes for a couple of years now, and I love the quality, the style, and the fit. So does my wife, and if I'm being honest, if she's happy with it, then I know it's good. Marshwear has multiple lines of pants, shorts, shirts, jackets, hats, and vests for both men and women. Their clothes are made for the pursuit of good times on the water, in the fields, and of course, a night out on the town. They have technical clothes that dry fast and protect against the sun. Just think, if it's perfect for saltwater anglers chasing a tarpon, it will be perfect for you out on the lake in the upper Midwest. Their camo patterns give a modern twist to vintage classics. These are just a couple of examples why I love their entire lineup. To check it out for yourself and understand all of their options, head to marshwearclothing.com. All right, the day's come. You're picking up the puppy. You're going to get him. What are you bringing with? Are you bringing a kennel? Are you putting the puppy on your lap on the way home? What's your objective here?
Well, my objective would be a crate, a very neutral mindset where I'm not overly excited, I'm not overly happy, I'm not overly sad. But of course, that's not a realistic.
Jordan and I are
vision.
smiling because, come on, this is a major life event.
Yeah.
Nobody's sad. They're
So I'll
not.
jump in because
We're excited. Right? We're
99%
picking up a
of
puppy.
people that puppy's going to be on the lap.
yeah, that's Piekarz. I mean,
I'm good with it. I'm good with it. But with that being said, understand what that's doing to the puppy. It's not a negative thing, but understand that it's not necessarily what its mother would be doing. That mother's never getting overly happy and overly upset. She runs the middle of the road. She stays flat because her goal is to make sure that these puppies are an asset to society.
At this point, you are now taking over the alpha role of this puppy's life.
And I'd go as far as to say that the alpha, I can swallow that, but it's more than that. It's a mentor. It's a leader. It's this bond and this relationship with this puppy, but it's not just based on love and positive reinforcement. It's based on some structure and some discipline and some boundary and some rules. Back to the touch and the hands-on that we're doing with these guys, our hands are soft and the dog should embrace it. There's going to come a point in time in life where our hands might not be as soft. We might need to make a
because
correction.
if this dog was living in the wild with its mom, the mom would correct.
the mom's already done it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mom's
She's
already done it
correcting.
when it's this small. It's already said enough is enough. I'm not feeding you right now. Now it's not feeding time. She's picking it up and putting it over there. She's
Just-
putting the boundaries and putting some discipline on
Just keep in mind to be the best mentor you can be.
Yep. All right. That's your role. Okay. So we are at home and the puppy's in a crate. Let's talk crate stuff. Crate 101. Okay. The first thing is that crate is too big, but we're using it so that you can see visually what we're going to do on the next steps. If you're bringing that puppy home at 8 weeks, what kind of a crate situation do you want to give him?
You want to create kind of a crate size that's going to be just big enough for that puppy to stand up, turn around, and lay down. Otherwise, they're going to learn to, soil in their crate. They're going to learn to kind of get neurotic behaviors of going back and forth, moving in it. So a smaller crate, the next size down from this, you can see this puppy's laying down. He's got long legs. But you want to buy a smaller crate and then move up size by size as your dog grows. Don't buy a big
some
crate.
crates have a divider option that you can put in there to block off part of the crate if you want to invest in one crate. But either way, understanding that this is now a safe place, right? This is forever going to be a safe place. Just like a coyote or a wolf, they have a den. Isn't that what this is taking over now?
Yeah, the breeder already had the puppies hopefully in like a whelping box or, a box. So they already had a den for 8 weeks of their life. So transitioning that puppy into another one is very important. And then, I'm a big believer in having, a solid sided crate like this with just a door on the front, not a big open wire environment for the dog. So that den feel for the dog is way more mental than just crate training. It allows that dog to really kind of get into a relaxed state of mind where they can kind of turn off. And that's the biggest part. And then you can also take a break from that puppy, take a break from leading or training. It allows you guys to separate. So it's a very, very important piece to training a dog.
Okay, so you've got the puppy in the kennel, and now the puppy starts barking. What do we do? Because puppies are going to bark when you put them in the kennel. Why are they barking?
So I believe that the barking is frustration. So you can find your puppy, your dog has a sense of boundaries, and he's frustrated. So the best thing to do is if you can ignore the frustration and not validate it by going to let that puppy out, people kind of hear the dog bark and they want to cater to the dog every time they make a noise. That dog will quickly learn that's successful behavior. So that frustration gets validated, and then it just kind of keeps following you around the house, and all of a sudden you have yourself a behavior that you didn't want. So you can either come to the crate and work the dog like we're going to demonstrate, or ignore. You just have to take the age in mind that, yes, these dogs need to be let out to go to the bathroom, but don't let the dog demand when that is with their voice.
Okay. So you brought up bathroom. So let's talk about that next. Now, the way to help get your dog potty trained would be, if he's in the kennel, as soon as it's time to go outside to the bathroom, you grab the dog and you carry him straight outside, right? Is that the plan?
Yep.
Yeah, I think beating the puppy to actually soiling themselves in the crate is very important. So get yourself on a very distinct schedule and stick to it. And the more strict you are, the quicker that dog will get housebroke.
And
what would be
waking
that schedule?
waking that puppy up to take him out before he's barking to wake you up to say he needs to go to the bathroom.
That's a big mistake, as people wait for the bark. Then the dog gets trained to say, that's how we're going to do this. Is that what's ultimately happening there?
Yeah.
Yes.
So what would be a distance that you would allow from bathroom break to bathroom break with an 8-week-old when you bring him home? How long before you want to take him back out?
If the dog is sleeping, I wouldn't go more than, a couple hours.
3?
I would put 3 as like a max.
Okay.
For an 8-week-old.
How long before you can spread that out?
They're going to kind of tell you as far as who they are as a dog. But, I've raised a decent amount of puppies, and I think by like 12 weeks old, 14 weeks, their crate broke, you're on a schedule and things like that. And then all of a sudden they're in there for 3-4 hours at a time, and they can hold their bladder. That's kind of age dependent and dog dependent.
Okay.
But I wouldn't go more than, a couple hours with an 8-week-old puppy. Even during the night, I would set an alarm. Say you put the dog to bed at 9, maybe at 11 or midnight, that dog's sleeping. Set your alarm, wake up, go down there, take that puppy out, bring it to the spot where you want it to learn to go to the bathroom. Wait it out, let it go to the bathroom, bring it back in. It's probably going to start getting frustrated again. Let it kind of settle in, and then it'll fall back asleep. Maybe 3 hours from them, go do that again.
Okay. What happens if the dog soils before you get there? How do you adjust? What's your plan?
For me, there's no correction. It was a simple human mistake at that point.
Clean it up and move on.
Yeah. I don't stick a dog's nose in it. I don't say no. I have to do better.
And that means maybe instead of waiting 3 hours, let's bump it to 2, if possible. And again, understanding that this is just a short window in the dog's life. We're talking days and weeks here, right?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, before you know it, your dog is trained.
And this is a big part of looking into the breeder, because I've seen a lot of messy kennel dogs that come in for training. But breeders with puppies, sometimes those dogs are kept in messy whelping boxes or messy areas. They're allowed to soil that area, walk in it, run around in it. So I think breeders are doing a great job nowadays, the ones that I know that are doing it well, of starting to early break those dogs of, this is your area for sleeping, this is your area to go to the bathroom, instead of just letting them do it all. So sometimes breeders set you up for failure or success with housebreaking too.
Okay. Let's just give a rough time. When do you cut a puppy off from water? Some people just leave it out there, and a puppy is just going to drink and drink and drink and pee and pee and pee and pee. But George, we got friends with puppies right now, and we're like, hey, just so you know, take the water away at like 7:00 or pick a time. Do you guys have a set time of the night when you say water bar is over?
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you're setting your schedule, and like Jordan said, when am I going to wake up again, or what time am I going to take that pup back out? Well, think about that time frame and back that up when you put him in there so he goes to sleep. You know what I mean? So if you give him water at 7, you better be ready to. Well, you give him water in about 10 minutes, he or she's gonna have to go to the bathroom.
Yeah,
So give him some water. Go ahead.
Everybody's life is a different routine, so adapt it to your routine. If you go to bed at 9, I'd probably be cutting that puppy off at least 2 hours before bedtime. You go to bed at 10, you go to bed at 7. It's all going to be different, but I'd give yourselves 2 to 3 hours before that pup's going into the crate to pull that water.
And don't get lazy to the point where you take the dog to the screen door, pitch him outside, and check on him in 5 minutes. Make a point to actually physically take him to the spot where he's to go. Within 2-3 workouts, his feet hit the ground, he's peeing in that spot. So you can get way ahead of this if you just have a little bit of discipline.
Okay. Did we miss anything on water and crate training that you want to touch on, Sonny? Did we get it?
I think we got it.
Okay. The frustration, we're going to work through some of that in a second here. But before we do that, I think we need to understand that there's a good way to take that puppy out of the crate, right? And maybe I should even back up a little bit because I want to ask if it's really imperative that a puppy sleeps in a crate versus in your bed or by your bed. The crate is the place to develop a good habit, right?
Yeah.
Is it a mistake to do it any other way?
Well, I think it'd be a mistake because I'm going to be cleaning up the bedroom or the living room or wherever the heck the dog wanders off to go to the bathroom.
Mhm.
This is giving him you want to be as controlled as possible, and you're giving the puppy an opportunity to learn.
Okay. All right. So we have in this kennel who is now actually sleeping, it looks like. So this puppy is obviously crate trained at this point. But we are going to work this dog, right? Jordan, are you going to handle him? Do you need to move that table over here so that you can work him onto the table?
Are we catching it from that angle? I just want
Yep,
people,
we're good.
people that are listening or watching, I want you to see how I use the door and then also watch the puppy's decisions. We got to see George's dog do it at a finish level. There wasn't a lot to work with there. When the dog did try to step out, George just moved that door in. The dog stepped back in. It was very clear the dog understood, what the boundaries were. So with a baby puppy, you can start that stuff.
I feel like this is not fair because that puppy's asleep over there. Most of the time they're bouncing off the walls, right?
Which he usually is. I mean, he's making a racket earlier,
It's
barking.
probably why he's tired right
Yeah.
now.
He's already
He's been
tired
using
himself.
his mind, thinking about making better life choices when he was outside.
Yeah.
And now he came in and he's like, okay.
By the
He was
way, he's never seen a bird, and we have a bird that we're going to introduce this
it's gonna
dog
be
to
fun.
in a moment.
Yeah.
It's going to get
Inside a
wild in
cabin.
here. Inside of a
Inside a
cabin.
cabin.
What could go wrong? He's like, oh, okay.
But
His heads up.
a lot of this stuff you can do is right in your house. So this is a great environment. Raining out right now, you could be working on what we're going to do over and over with a puppy. But a lot of people run to a crate, open the door, the dog runs out, dog is loose trying to get there, and all of a sudden he pees on the carpet or whatever. You're missing a huge opportunity to take the dog out, put him on a lead, and start communicating really what you want that dog to do as it gets older and older. But when we go to this door and we start to open this, this puppy is going to start already anticipating, okay, I can just come through the door. I can just walk right through it. All right. As soon as I told that puppy no, you can hear the whine. There's your frustration because I just put a boundary in this dog's life. So now that dog is problem solving and getting frustrated. But I'm trying to teach this dog, I don't want you bolting out of crates because if I pull into, say, a vet parking lot with a puppy and I open the crate and it jumps out and takes off, or, we're going hunting and the dog is running out of the crate and bolting, we want to try to get our dogs to join up mentally here with us. And this is a big part you can start with an 8-week-old puppy.
So he just went to the back and he said, fine,
Yep.
I'm going to go lay down in the back of the kennel then if you're not going to let me out.
So I'm going to open that door, and you can see this door has already taught this dog it means something. So he's paying attention to it. But as he starts to come towards it, if I just close it, and I'm not trying to hit the puppy or, cause intimidation from the door, but I want the dog to start going through different decisions of, I'm only going to let you or take you out when you kind of give in to that boundary that I'm putting in place.
And this can start at 8 weeks.
Yeah.
The day you bring him home.
And what you're doing is you're developing a mindset for that dog to think and pay attention and look for direction as soon as you come get the puppy, instead of running right by you like you don't even exist. So this is really big stuff for this puppy to start thinking about. And this is, working the dog's mind. The dog is having to think, make decisions. It's a form of stress. Stress on the brain is going to tire the puppy out. So this is working a dog. We are doing a training session right now. And
it's a pressure release kind of a concept.
You're allowing the dog to use its mind to think and problem solve.
Problem solved.
Yeah, he keeps, for those that aren't watching, the dog keeps sticking its head out, and Jordan keeps slowly closing it a little bit. And I'm giggling a little bit because there's all these wrinkles on it, and it's so adorable. And I know you guys have seen a lot of puppies, and it's not that cute to you, but it is so cute right now.
And at some point, the puppy's going to say this isn't working. And if there's mental stability, he should try something else. And when he tries the right thing, we're going to validate that by just leaving him alone. Instead of saying, good boy, or throwing treats in there, we're just going to relax. And then he's going to come back the next time and say, this worked last time. And now all of a sudden your behavior happens on its own instead of being told to do it, or there's have to be bribery with it. You're getting a very easy way, a very, willing way to work a dog without having to complicate the relationship.
Oh, he's almost there. He's almost there.
So now he's just kind of hanging out. He's doing what I want, of just not trying to push through. I would close the door, relax if I was doing this training wise, and then I would get right back at it again and work it a little bit more. And I'm trying to see, like, if I was having to eval a dog, how quickly do they get to that same decision? Some dogs are real pushy if they're older. Some puppies learn very quickly. But some dogs, all of a sudden you open that door and they're like, yep, I got it. You got a very smart puppy.
And what is the I got it, Jordan?
That dog is just telling you, I understand by the body language of they do what you want them to do on their own. So it's going to be a body language read from the dog of saying, I understand. And it could be dog batting their eyes. It could be a dog licking and swallowing. You could see a nice big stress yawn out of the dog. And really, it's just him validating that I am thinking about what you're doing. I'm paying attention. I'm trying.
And he's done it probably 2-3 times for sure, and it's only about a 2 count. So just if we pay attention, he's processing information.
And what has he done, Sonny? What's the puppy physically done?
Acknowledge Jordan's presence.
Does he lick his lips? Is he bat his eyes?
Just a little bit of a back.
You see
a little
here,
bit of a
right there.
He did. He just licked.
So he joined up with me mentally, came over and said, I have some value for you. You're starting to have some value. And then acknowledges, that was that lick. The ears went back. The eyes are starting to bat. You're starting to see the whole dog's anticipatory mindset soften up to a thinking mindset.
And don't overthink this stuff. It's not rocket science by no means. So a lot of it you're going to feel. You're just going to feel that there's some kind of a connection going on here where you're not looking to blast out the door and knock me over.
My number one call is I need steadiness and retrieve help. And then person pulls in for a lesson. I want to see how the dog's doing this because you're already working on steadiness. You're already working on your retrieve, your handling. The tailgate talk in our seminars is hours long, and it goes over so in depth of everybody loses their dog at the tailgate when they go hunting. They're having problems in the field. They try to fix in the field. A lot of times you fix this, get this right, all of a sudden you don't see that problem in the field. So you're already starting to prep for this dog's future at 2-3 years old, going on a hunt of, got all my stuff laid out. I go to my dog just like George did. And that dog is already saying, I'm going to hunt for you, with you today, and I'm going to perform instead of this is going to be the worst hunt of your day.
Mm-hmm. And this starts as an 8-week-old puppy. I mean, we're still talking about this one here happens to be 12 weeks. Is that right? Or 14 weeks. Okay. But look at that dog. Just sit there, not trying to jump out. And I will, now you close the door, right? Jump in.
I will be the absolute, I'll admit that I'm the worst for wanting to take the time to do this. When Jordan brought this to the table, it was real hard for me to kind of just settle in and let this play out because my personality is, let's go get to the work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
yep,
I can relate to
the fun stuff.
Yeah, I can relate to this wanting to be skipped.
Which everyone does, right? I mean, I think most people will be like, okay, what are we accomplishing here? Get the puppy out. Let's get him on the ground. Let's do something with him. I want to reiterate what Jordan just said. If no matter how old the dog is, if he doesn't get this right and you're wondering why the pup's not retrieving or the dog, let's just go to a full-age dog. The dog is sometimes he retrieves, sometimes he doesn't, sometimes he handles, sometimes doesn't. We go back to the crate. And what Jordan said, if that isn't working out in the field, it didn't work here.
Yeah.
It all ties back to all this beginning stuff.
Okay. Are we ready to bring this dog out now? Okay.
You just had him for probably a 4 count. That would have been the timing where he would have came out.
Yep. And now it's unfair to this dog a little bit because we're putting him into this situation, but we're going to move it now and we're going to bring a table and then Jordan's going to work with this puppy. So as he does this, George and Sonny, I want you guys to kind of help me understand and explain what's happening in the dog's mind and then what's going on with Jordan at the same time. So Jordan right now is putting out this platform here. You can make something like this out of wood or the top of your kennel. You can use a lot of different props, right? Or, you can purchase these as well. What would you call that, George? You brought that.
So the brand is Caranda bed.
Okay.
Buy it commercially.
The bed itself is not important. You don't need the bed. You can use a rock. You can use anything to mentally challenge the puppy to say, "Hey, this is what we're going to do." So as soon as that puppy's coming out of that crate, there's a whole brand new world here that he's going to engage with to start to make decisions. And the two of them are just going to kind of go about it together. And we'll see what plays out here, but probably nothing more than just a little bit of movement. Just move with me.
All right. So we rushed it a little bit on the process to get him out here for the sake of our time, which is not what we would be doing at home, right? But Jordan now has the puppy out.
We're going to jump in here, right? To try to stick with the puppy. So the puppy comes out. There's absolutely zero intimidation. There's not a ton of stress. That's been built with the last 5, 6, 7 minutes they played back here. So to be able to try to read the dog, he's extremely forward with his thinking. He wants to go do something. I hope that it's not going to be go pee and then let's go play the game.
Yeah.
But very, very confident puppy, very, very comfortable puppy.
Why do you say that? Because the tail's high and the tail's wagging, ears are up?
The whole dog, from his head to the tip of his tail, he's very engaged. Right there was to just attempt to try something. Very eager. And if we would have a puppy that comes out that's does have some intimidation, it's no big deal. It's just a different personality in the puppy.
Okay. So some other puppies might just be running all over, right? And now you've got a lead and you feel like you're potentially putting too much pressure or almost feeling like you're choking.
Yeah. So this little dude on a 1 to 10 scale, as far as, 1 being the least, 10 being the most, the overall dog, there is no 10. He's hitting a real strong 9. Just mentally being very comfortable with what might be going on. Yep.
So explain, Jordan has the lead on right now, and the dog is standing 2 feet on the board, but not all 4, right? Is he saying, "I'm not quite ready for what you want me to do"? Or is he just checking it out right now?
There's a chance he hopped on there once, and right now he's saying, "No, I'm not going to."
We know the feeling. When you close your eyes, you're there. Wide open spaces, fresh air. You have big dreams. We also know there's uncertainty. Between you and your destination, there's the unknown. But we know how to get you there. We've been helping people like you find their way home for decades. We're Compeer Home, and we know the way. To get started or find out more, visit us at compeerhome.com or by calling 833-986-8001. Compeer Home is a division of Compeer Financial, who is an equal opportunity provider and employer and an equal credit opportunity lender. Compeer Home Services, NMLS number 619731. Copyright 2025. All rights reserved.
America's greatest pheasant hunting experience awaits you in Aberdeen, South Dakota. So many birds, so little time, so many memories. Come for the adventure, return for the tradition. They have so many dog-friendly and hunter-friendly hotels, thousands of acres of public land, and the Aberdeen Pheasant Coalition Public Lands. Hunt Aberdeen, South Dakota. Request your free hunting guide at huntfishsd.com. That's huntfishsd.com.
So,
All right. So
you're seeing George's dog go right on willingly, but this is real life stuff. Somebody that watches the video and they're doing a trained dog. This dog hasn't done this before. So you're seeing the dog try it and then went off it and wants to come back on. And all of a sudden, he stops right there. I can't be sitting here saying, place, here, come or treat. So what we're doing with these dogs is allowing them to make a lot of their own decisions, and we're just helping them make better ones. We're trying to be a really good mentor to him. So with this lead on, I can start moving my body language and just start getting this dog to move off touch a little bit. So as soon as that dog makes a decision off body language and touch, that dog starts to problem solve. That's what we're after right now. This is primal resistance mom and dad put into this dog, fight or flight. So right now he's just saying, I don't want to. I have a little defiance to me. That's the boldness in the puppy. You go buy a well-bred
Normal,
dog.
by the way.
Yeah, you buy a well-bred dog, they're going to be pushy, confident, bold. So a lot of this resistance that people are dealing with 1.5, 2, 3, all the way up to 6, 7-year-old dogs, you're seeing in a baby puppy. So it's so easy to work through this stuff as a baby puppy compared to waiting, bonding with that dog, and all of a sudden a year-old dog, the resistance has been validated for a year now. So baby puppies are going to show you the same thing that you're going to deal with an adult dog.
So you want to get 4 paws up on this board right now. And right now the dog is only giving you 2 and he's looking around saying,
Yeah. And, back to George's finished product, he was very willing. We know that we can take the lead and put the dog on the board. Okay, we know that we can force him up here. It's all about just being patient enough to allow him to process information on what's going to be successful.
Okay. How long do you wait?
I want the dog to make the decision. That's like as simply as I can put it. The dog kind of gets to make the next move. I can start moving around and help that dog move, but I want him to make the decision to go up there in the end. I'm just going to help him get there.
Any movements on your body that's going to...
Yeah, I mean, just moving around. So this dog is now trying something different. So he just did it.
Yep,
so waiting him out, he was in a position, do I want to or do I want to bail? He doesn't understand that this is place. But all he did was try something.
Eventually you can put the word place to it if you want.
But I did not interrupt the right decision there. Where like over here is not the right decision. So I can cue this dog to just interrupt that train of thought and get that dog back to paying attention. But every time I come around this, I want to make this successful. But he keeps kind of putting it in his pocket that this is successful because he's doing it on his own. Then I can help him do it better. So it's not all about, making the dog uncomfortable and moving him, off pressure. It's about allowing these dogs to grow and develop. So right here, I'm just going to interrupt.
And he's just applying a little pressure to the lead. The dog is saying, I don't want to. And there you...
So it's not a big deal what he's doing.
He's just quartered it.
Well,
he's getting
still,
more and more comfortable.
He's checking his options.
Mm-hmm. All right. Come on, bud.
So I just stopped there because he came and looked at me.
Yep, there he goes.
So
right
he
on
already
it.
joined up with me back there, meaning he had validation. So I was touching the lead. He came, looked at me, and I backed off. That was the success of him joining back up, where a lot of people, so this dog keeps checking in with me. If I'm touching the dog with that lead and I get that was trying. So I back off. It's very small successes turn into huge successes.
I think the challenge for a lot of people is understanding. I mean, you guys work with so many dogs that you know what this looks like. Most people are going to deal with one dog and then 10 years later, another dog or, however, it's just not that much repetition. So that's why I think the subtleties that you guys are talking about are missed by 99% of us. They just are, because we don't know what that subtle look is. I didn't see anything different there. Yeah. He's looking around all over. I didn't see what you saw there.
In simple terms, I put my clients in front of this and we start and I say, try something and step to the right. And I say, no, try something else. Step to the left. I said, no, try something else. They stepped there. I said, yes, that's what I'm looking for. What they did is took the path of least resistance around the obstacle, but I interrupted the wrong decisions, but the dog still tried. So just going that way or over there doesn't make him a bad dog. He's trying. But I want him to try all those things, and I'm just going to keep slowly interrupting him until he tries the right thing. In the end, he made the decision to put himself there.
Yeah. You never pulled him up on top.
Yes.
Yep. Okay.
So the cues are more or less like, no, that's not what I'm looking for. I'm glad you tried that, though, because now you're probably not going to do it again. Okay, going over there, you tried that. That's fine. He's not a bad dog for trying. So we don't want the dog to get resentful around us for trying. That's going to keep that open mindset and make the dog look extremely, extremely confident around us instead of intimidated.
For the sake of keeping this moving, not that I want you to have to force a puppy to do anything, but I want to get to physical touch. What does that look like for a puppy? So is this a good place to do the physical touch exercise? And what is physical touch and why are you doing it?
I'm going to have to switch.
Can I take this off or move down?
Yep, you got room.
So physical touch, again, the cuteness, everybody gets a puppy. Everybody's excited. We want to come in here and, get the puppy going. We want a roughhouse. We want to play. But all that is doing is putting that dog in a very challenged position mentally. So when we come in to touch a puppy, we want to get our hands on the dog and start getting that dog to almost melt and calm down when we touch them. So the way that we touch with our hands, the way that we claim the dog with our hands, we can communicate to this puppy that I'm not challenging you, but you need to accept my touch. And it's the same thing Mom had with him.
Go ahead.
And if the camera was flipped and we could see the dog he's totally embracing the relationship. So that makes him much more eager to want to learn, to want to hang with him and be with him. Therefore, anything we're going to be doing from this point going forward is going to happen faster is a terrible word to be using, but it's going to happen faster because of the relationship that's happening right now. And they just met each other, 15 minutes ago.
So then let's look down the path. Years from now, you're out in the field and the dog suffers a cut and you need to patch him up, or you need to clip the nails, or, the regular maintenance on a dog. You can touch every part of this dog's body regularly so they know that you're safe. And when the time comes, you can then stitch your own dog. You can do all these regular things that they need.
And a lot of that acceptance of touch, I do. I do it on a lead so I can help him. So, getting the dog comfortable with holding the paws or trim nails. If this dog went and moved away right now, I could slowly just interrupt that until he came back and tried. Then I'd give him his paw back. So there's a lot of things that you're talking about maintenance-wise that you can teach a puppy to accept at a very young age.
And you're cueing that you interrupted that through the lead.
Exactly.
Through the piece of rope.
Yeah, I can't say, hey, calm down or pay attention or this verbally, and the dog's going to be like, oh, yeah, I'll just give you my paw. So
and the
touch is how Mom was raising him.
And if we back this relationship up just a little bit about the excitement of somebody bringing home the new puppy, if you can control your emotion right from the start, this will be the puppy that you have. So the relationship between human and puppy it's more fulfilling for the puppy.
Yeah, because I think somebody watching this right now would be like, no way, look at that little puppy. Mine would be on the ceiling, off the wall, and it's like, well.
And he's going to feel really good around me, so he's naturally going to want to be with me. He's going to feel confident but not intimidated.
I wonder if he'd do the same thing if I went over there and held him. You know what I mean? Like, you guys have just this aura about you that you've handled so many puppies. So we've worked him to this point, right? Calm touch, physical touch, right? And this puppy has never seen or smelled a bird. This, I think, am I wrong? But are we in a good position right now to introduce this puppy to a bird?
Yeah.
Sure.
All right. What are some things?
Let me talk about while we're getting that bird. So we had Rip out here, who's 3.
Yep.
The touch part.
Yep.
The touch part, I think, in our world is extremely important. Jordan touched that puppy the same way I touched Rip. So
you don't come at the head, right?
What's that?
You don't come at the head.
You can
first.
come at the head. You're just coming at the head with confidence and gentle.
And then let's make sure we don't get off in the ditch here. If I was at home working this dog by myself, from this point going forward, he's going to go back into his crate to be able to just chill and process some information.
Right.
Okay.
And I want to point out that this was a real-time training session. Just this dog getting comfortable, stepping on that a couple times, walking over it, walking on it in real time. That was a great success. Separate from your dog. Put him in the crate and get away from him.
Okay, let's do that then. Let's put the dog in the crate, and then we're going to explain the bird introduction. Okay,
awesome.
So
Trev,
this is a big deal for a lot of our listeners. Introducing the dog to birds and introducing a dog to gunfire. Both of them are intimidating. Both of them are important parts of the process. They shouldn't be intimidating though, right?
Right.
Okay, so let's talk about the right way to do this. And we have over here, Eric, you want to bring this over?
We don't. Yeah, let's talk about it first before we get to it.
Okay.
So there's 100 different ways to do this. I think they probably all work. The best way that I have found. Did we crash? The
No,
best
we're
way
good.
the best way that I have found to do it would start with either a wing locked pigeon or a dead pigeon or just a dead bird and introduce that bird. That's going to probably happen really fast to the point where that bird's wings can be open. He can be exposed to it coming open so that he's not fearful of it, and then just keep stair-stepping it up. The gun introduction aspect of it, the rule of thumb, or what I live by, is if he likes his birds and is willing to chase the bird, the gun comes with the chasing of the bird. So if he's willing to chase a bird, you're ready to do a gun introduction.
Okay.
Tunnel
So-
vision on that bird, like nothing else matters in the world.
Right. So a bird that is not large to begin with, right? Bringing a pheasant here would be a bad deal.
Very bad.
A live pheasant
Yep.
right now would be a bad deal. So you're going to work up to different birds, right?
Yes. And the dog will set the pace. That he's never seen a bird before, to the best of my knowledge. So there's dogs that will be afraid of the bird and go underneath the ranger, hide. There's dogs that want to attack the bird, and then there's dogs that just bang, just stick them. So there's a bunch of
and we
different
don't know
things
what's going to happen here, which
No
is the
clue.
beauty
And
of this. Are we
there's
going to
none of-
move this table
none
out of the way?
that's wrong.
Yep. Okay. So this is a real life training situation.
Yep.
We have a live pigeon here. Who's going to handle the bird? You want gloves?
Let's have Eric handle the bird, and as long as you're right there with your headset coming on and off, just take it off and go for it.
Okay. All right. Jordan is grabbing the lead, going to the kennel
let's play
as
it
we
out.
speak. We're going to play this out. He's putting the lead on at the kennel. All right.
And then
Eric?
when we're teaching something new, you got to back off on the old. So now for this dog to be loose and be energetic, to be forward is totally fine. This is all good stuff. So at home, we'd probably have him on a check cord, not a command lead.
We're in a controlled environment
Yeah, we're
here.
in a cabin.
We're going to just see how this goes down, okay? This might not be how
No,
we
we're
would
fine.
normally do this.
Let's put a bird out there and see what he thinks.
All right. So this is Eric's puppy. Here comes a pigeon. Oh, he wants it.
So that's very forward. There was no thought process. It was instincts kicking in that there's a bird and I want the bird.
He's smelling it right now. He is loving it. He's licking it. He's all over this bird. All right. Oh yeah.
This would be textbook.
Oh,
Yeah,
look at
this
he's
good deal.
smelling the feathers that are on the floor. Oh,
And then
that
from
tail.
this
Look
point,
at that
it-
tail.
it-
Oh, he wants it so bad.
It might be a workout or two, but there his prey drive is kicking in. That's all natural. That's just DNA hardwired. He wants it. From here, then we would open that bird's wings and keep it off away from the dog and let it have some movement, have some life.
If it flies
This-
up in
this can
the
be-
cabin, this could get interesting.
This could be intimidating. It's very obvious it's not for this puppy. So then if we're at home,
All right.
Life is good.
Puppy is excited right now. So
wings are
excited.
open, the bird is flapping, life is still good.
He wants it. So why is Jordan keeping it over there? Why is he not letting him have it? Jordan's holding it up in the air.
Yeah, we don't want him slapping in the face, and we're just building up
Yep.
step by step.
And then from this point, that bird's on a tether, and we open up the tether and let it move around. Can you just grab him a little bit? Let Jordan open him up here a bit.
Okay, so this is Eric. For those that are watching it, Eric, this is his puppy right now. So right now, I'm guessing Eric's pretty excited to see this drive.
Yeah, that's textbook perfect.
Yep. The bird is flapping its wings, trying to fly,
And then from here, if we're at home, we've got a loft full of pigeons, bag full of pigeons. That bird literally just going to be let go, and he's going to chase
boy.
it. Oh, we almost lost him in the rafters. So yeah, we're good with our bird introduction.
Yeah.
he loves it.
So we've got a bag full of birds, and we're releasing birds, and that puppy is chasing birds across.
You let him free. Let him chase
Let him
after
go,
it. The
yes.
bird's going to fly, and
Yep.
he's going to run after it. And
Prey drive is
Yeah.
kicked in. From there, we hand set some birds, bring him on a rope. He might point him. He might want to catch him. Regardless, the bird's going to fly off, and he's going to learn real quick that trying to catch it doesn't work. And he's going to point.
look at that amount of desire and drive in that dog to
Yeah,
get to
this
that
is-
bird. That's what you want right there.
Yes.
That was perfect.
Wonderful. Every great bird hunt needs great native habitat. We all know that. Those that want to grow the best habitat on their own landscape know that one of the biggest obstacles to getting great native habitat is planting it correctly. Our friends at Hoxie Native Seeds felt this pain too, so they built the Hoxie Native Seeder. There's no wiring, no hydraulics. Using the best planting practices learned through decades of hard work, the Hoxie Native Seeder was designed to bring you the best native cedar on the market today, and it's half the price of the other guys. Find out more about the Hoxie Native Cedar at hoxienativeseeds.com. If you're active in great outdoor adventures, then odds are good that you have gear, equipment, and toys that you need to haul. Well, our friends at Aluma Trailers, they've got you covered. Their trailers are built by a hardworking team in Bancroft, Iowa, right here in the good old USA. They have models for all of your hauling needs, from ATV and UTV trailers to snowmobile, motorcycle, car trailers. And, well, basically, if you need to haul it, they have a trailer to tow it. Trust me when I say that Aluma Trailers tow gear like a dream. Their trailers are constructed out of lightweight, strong, corrosion-resistant aluminum, and they are 100% maintenance-free. Plus, they come with an industry-best 5-year warranty. Visit alumaklm.com to find a trailer that fits your needs. I left Pheasant Fest with a new toy this year. It's the Game Virtual Hunting and Shooting Simulator. It's a virtual reality hunting and shooting game that gives shooters and hunters the ability to work on their shot and learn in real-life situations. Let's just say there's not a lot of work getting done in our office right now because everyone wants to play. It's the most lifelike hunting and shooting game I've ever seen. The first time I put the VR headset on and shouldered the wooden gun, I was amazed at how accurate the sights were on the gun. You can even calibrate the gun to make sure that when you shoulder it, everything lines up perfectly and fits. There's hunting simulators for big game, ducks, and pheasants, which are unreal. Plus, there's different trap ranges, sporting clays, and 5-stand courses too. The real beauty to this is that it shows your shot when you fire. If you miss it, it shows where you miss. After seeing your mistakes in real time, you can correct your lead and ultimately make better shots. Pretty cool, huh? To learn more about the Game Virtual Hunting and Shooting Simulator, head to game.com. That's GAIM.com. All right. Well,
And
at this
again,
point now,
that's the very first time that pup has ever had any encounter with any kind of bird.
yeah. Jordan, any takeaways there from what you just watched with that dog?
That's exactly what you're hoping for. But if you do your research and pick a good breeder, and that's what your experience should be like. You know,
What if it's not, though? What if that dog runs away? Because that's also reality for some people.
No problem.
That's okay, too. And tell them why.
It's just the personality of the puppy's not ready for it. So all you do is back up a few steps. You could put that bird in a harness. You could snuff that bird out and kill it.
Just a wing? What about just bringing a wing out to play?
yeah, sometimes you start with a dead bird, like a full live quail, like just fresh killed, and just drag it around. And all you want is that puppy to make progress towards it, run up to it. But sometimes the flapping, the size, maybe you're in the woods, maybe it's the environment. You want it to be a very sterile, successful experience for the dog. So it's just about the dog and the bird. But if you have a very fearful dog, just getting that dog to even want to step towards it, maybe that's where your session ends.
And I'm gonna just step in and talk a little bit about if that dog is fearful. There's about a 99% chance that it came from the actual human, not the genetics of the dog.
What do you mean?
If we bring the dog into this cabin and that dog is afraid of whatever it might be, afraid of the people, and then we try to engage the dog with the human, come on, boy, it's okay, come see him, come on, it's okay. Well, then we just intensify the problem. If we can ignore the problem's going to go away extremely quick, which is that real level, real not happy, not sad, just real neutral. The puppies are going to follow that behavior. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, if it's no big deal, it's no big deal. So
Just keep bringing the dog back into a scenario to let him
yeah, I have
build
some
that
dogs
confidence.
that won't go forward chasing. So the puppy backs off a little bit. The first thing I do is go towards the bird with my body, and all of a sudden that puppy goes, well, he's going, I'm going to follow. Instead of saying, oh, it's okay, we'll just do it again. Show your confidence of, no, I'm going. And all of a sudden you look back and that puppy's following you. That bird goes again, maybe a little bit, and all of a sudden you fall again. Then that puppy runs by you, and he got that confidence through your leadership.
And back that up a little farther. One of the big challenges that I had right before we kind of stop with the public is so many dogs that we were getting, truth be told, have not been off a lead. We're never off a leash. So they didn't know how to even move. So way before we get to the bird, just going for some walks with the puppy.
Without them being on the lead?
Yeah, to not be restricted. With that, starting with the end in mind. If you want a grouse dog, well, you need to be going for some walks in the woods.
Yeah.
So that puppy builds a little bit of confidence of where he's at.
You can have a lead on him, but what we're saying is don't restrain the dog back. Most dogs come, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm scared. You're scared to let the dog go experience life a little bit.
Well, that's because mine ran from Minnesota to Montana when I let him off. When I let her off, so that's why I was scared.
Your dog grew up in North Dakota and experienced
know.
Montana and Canada all in one morning on a little run.
But
by herself.
I know. So it's obviously that was a 7-month-old, so it's different than having an 8-week-old.
But
puppy.
a lot of
but let's get back to this. This process that we just played out here happens early in life. This isn't 6 months down the road. You want this to happen you can do it at 8 weeks, right?
The
You need to.
The 8-week-old puppy, the 10-week-old puppy, the 14-week-old puppy, they don't have the mental capacity to run off. So they're naturally going to want to keep track of you and move with you and follow you. So it's much easier to control them.
Started early.
Yes.
You're getting ahead of everything here.
If
What
they-
happens if you don't introduce a bird until 6 months or a year?
It's not a deal breaker by no means. It's just a little bit harder, and there's a little bit more time that has to be invested.
Okay.
But unfortunately, where we're at is there's just a lot of people that are afraid to let the dog go because they don't think it's going to come back.
That's because they've heard my story. Okay. This is the point where now we introduce gunfire, right? The dog is chasing after the bird. That's great. There's prey drive. Now, how do you introduce the gunfire into this?
As long as the dog is engaged in chasing the bird, I would just have my blank gun. I would snuff my blank gun into the ground for those first few shots and just pop, pop. And what you're looking for is that shot does not necessarily break that puppy off of that bird. He's focused on the bird.
What happens if it does?
Move on.
No big deal. Just keep going for a walk, and now that dog just told you something. So I'll maybe go back to clapping my hands. Every time that dog's around birds, I'm just, clapping. And they're just getting sound associated with birds. And it may be a slower process for a dog that's, not as good environmentally, but
in 30 years of developing and raising my own personal dogs, I have never had a gun-shy dog, ever. It's all been man-made.
Well, explain, if you will, can you briefly explain why and how it's man-made?
In my time, the biggest man-made gun-shy dog that I was exposed to was the textbook story of. I was shooting trap tonight, so I brought the puppy with and let him sit in the back of the truck just to be exposed to the gunfire. That was the biggest thing, the biggest one for me.
That's for me too. I've experienced 2 dogs last year of come in for training. They said they already got the gun over them. I'm going to go check the boxes myself. I go through with my 209 clapping, and all of a sudden that dog turns off a bird like it's heard a gun, a bunch of times, runs back to me, and it's a default. And then hey, did you do any gun? No. I went to the range with him. He sat right next to me the whole time. He didn't run away. Well, what he did was sitting there, he wasn't going anywhere, but
you're the safety, so he comes back to you because you're safe.
So as soon as I shoot, that dog runs back to me and now won't leave my side because that's what it's been taught.
I would, step outside the box here. If I was at home with that puppy by myself, I would have a gun introduction done today. It would be
because we saw how
he's going to chase birds.
Yeah. Yep.
This puppy
here.
Environmentally
Is there an
sound.
age where it's too early to introduce?
I mean, there's got to be steps in place. So if that puppy is 8, 9, 10 weeks old, how much time can you get into that dog wanting to bump and chase birds? Physically, they're not really big enough to be doing that.
Yeah.
So they have to be engaged in good chase.
Yes.
The rule of thumb there would probably be if somebody's needing a number before 20 weeks of age is the best time to have a bird and a gun introduction done, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
This dog seems to be in a perfect position. 14 weeks right there. Very excited. Big enough to chase and run and go after the bird. And
our puppy development is 4 months old. We take dogs into the kennel to stay 2 to 3 weeks. And that's a prime age for us where they're physically able to do this stuff, obstacles, lead work, gun work, bird work. And we beat kind of the period where people really can get a lot of validation, a lot of negative behavior built on that dog. So that we're kind of getting blank slates at that 4-month-old. Hopefully we got a couple lessons in before they come for puppy development.
Okay, we've talked about quite a few things here. To keep us on track, I just want to mention that there is a very, how do I word it? Socialization. We'll just call it socialization, exposure. You mentioned if you want to grouse on with your dog, bring them out for walks in the woods. Socialization with other dogs and other people, that's important. And it helps the entirety of the dog's life, right? But you don't just go to a dog park, right? How do you socialize a puppy? And why don't you go to a dog park?
Yeah, let's talk about the dog park, because
Yeah.
that's what a lot of people are like, oh, well, I'm socializing my dog, so I'm going to take you to a dog park.
There could be some good dog parks, but you are who you hang with. So typically at the dog park, there can be some dogs that are out of control. They're just bad stuff going on. You are who you hang with. So the socialization part of going to the dog park, it's not for me, but I've got 40 acres that's completely enclosed by a wire where I have my own dog park. So real world situations.
I think the way to maybe wrap your head around it, for a puppy getting let out of a box or a vehicle, and now you're in, and there are monsters out here. There are big ones. There's other people. It'd be like you wouldn't take your newborn baby to a rock concert,
Right?
Because it's just like pure chaos, right? So,
And I'm not real big on taking a dog to Tractor Supply or Runnings and having a bunch of people want to come
what
up
do you
and
got
see your
against
puppy.
runnings, huh, George?
A bunch of people want to come up and see your puppy.
Why? I feel like that's great socialization.
I think a puppy really doesn't need to go meet a bunch of other dogs or say hi to a bunch of other dogs or say hi to a bunch of people. They need to develop a connection with their owner, where we're talking about here of you're leading, they're following, and then bring them to Runnings and walk them through the store. And when they say, like Runnings, my favorite thing is the mannequins. The dogs come up and what is that? And I already have that relationship built with that young dog that I can say, no, it's all right, just follow. Instead of go smell it. It's not about that. It's more about go past it 2 or 3 times. Then all of a sudden that mannequin's no big deal. So I think people do a lot of harm socializing and exposing their puppies because they, hey, can you come touch my puppy? I want it to be good with people. And then all of a sudden, 6 months old, that dog is submissive peeing or growling at people approaching it because all it learned was people are going to challenge me growing up. So I think people socialize or think socializing is completely different what it should be.
In the natural world, that puppy is not going to run up to the older dogs to socialize. He will be disciplined to stay away, to respect my space. So the human gets into this habit of puppy. The human gets submissive, which is to come down and say, oh, what a cute little puppy. The puppy comes in, jumps on the human. Now the puppy is learning that it can dominate the human. And now you take it to the dog park, and that same puppy goes to do the same exact thing with the dogs in the park. And now all of a sudden you're wondering why your puppy just got attacked. You're thinking, well, that dog attacked my puppy. And in reality, that puppy was disrespectful by getting in the space of those other dogs, and it was corrected. Which is the natural way of the dog.
That young puppy, the people are telling it one thing, the dogs are telling it a different thing. So you go try to socialize that young pup with older dogs. No dog is welcoming that puppy into the pack, petting them and stuff like the humans do. They're correcting it. They're trying to raise it. They're trying to discipline it, put manners on it, boundaries on it, where the people are just kind of blurring all that.
The girls are probably, they're probably working a load of 20 dogs today, and they're probably at a store. The mission is to be able, and these are for detection, but the mission is
back
to
at your kennel?
Yes. The mission is to be able to get through the Menards or the Tractor Supply or the Lowe's or whatever it might be with just nothing more than let's go for a walk through here, and the outside environment shouldn't affect you. So as hard as it is to try to tell the people, just he's in training and just leave me alone, just to move through the people and for the puppy to take in that this is just another day and it's just beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a lot of what we do with people, is building their confidence to take their dog through those environments. Because a lot of people like Carl that we listen to, his dogs were reactive. So all of a sudden his confidence is gone to go out in public. So sometimes we go with people for the first time in these stores or to the vet and just rebuild the people's confidence. Yes, you can do this. But 100% is the dog is getting all their confidence through whoever is leading them. If nobody's leading, all of a sudden that dog is on their own. And a young puppy, that's detrimental.
You guys have a ton of knowledge built up. I think we've touched on quite a few puppy topics here. The last thing I'm going to say before we move on to part 2, I guess we'll call it, is that what the puppy learns now is going to carry on for the rest of its life. Good behaviors and bad behaviors. And it's important that we invest in this stage of a puppy's life, because this is really the foundation that you're going to build on and you're going to have for the rest of this dog's life. So don't just say it's a puppy, right? Everybody says that. I know. Oh, it's just a puppy. He'll grow out of it, or she'll grow out of it. But is that just really the wrong way to think?
To me, there's no puppy stage. You're trying to think about, what do I want this dog to do as an adult, and how much of that can this puppy handle right now? And I'm going to give them like 2% of that 100%. And then slowly just keep every day asking a little bit more and a little bit more. But a lot of people get in that this is a puppy stage. They'll grow out of it. The nipping, that's normal. That's what I read online. And then all of a sudden at 7-8 months old, puberty starts hitting that dog. People call and say, hey, I need help. This behavior just started. It's like, nah, that started at 8 weeks old. So people are like programmed now to say, this is a puppy. This is normal puppy stuff. They'll grow out of it. When
two things then, nipping and jumping up on you. 2 classic puppy moves, right? What should you do?
When we demonstrated touching that puppy, it's all about the way you socialize with that puppy. They're going to feed off what you're giving them. So like Sonny said at the dog park, those older dogs discipline that puppy for jumping and nipping. The humans surrender to it. So the way that you socialize with your puppy is the way that your dog is going to socialize back. So if you start playing with your puppy, you start roughhousing with your puppy, tug of war and stuff like that, and then that dog gets into challenge mode, you're just in a little puppy dog fight. And the dog is jumping on you, biting at you, and all of a sudden that dog is disciplining you, just like those older dogs were disciplining that puppy.
Is there a difference in playtime with your puppy, though, where you can just be carefree and just spend that time loving on your puppy? Because I bet 95% or more of our listeners probably want to snuggle up with their puppy and
Absolutely.
and love on them.
Play with the puppy all you want, but then make sure that you understand what it represents to the puppy. That's a human fulfillment that we're getting by playing with the puppy. Just understand what you're doing to the puppy so that you can maintain good balance. Because the older dogs are never going to play with the puppies per se. The puppies will play amongst each other,
yep, but
they're not going to go to the older dogs to push them around. Well, ultimately, we're supposed to be that mentor and that older dog, that they bond and they build this relationship.
Yeah, if you watch puppies and their mom, the mom is not wrestling. She's over doing her thing. She'll give in to dinner time. But other than that, get away from me.
Yep.
And to a little bit to add to Jordan's, I treat all puppies like they're adult dogs. I mean, I literally start with the end in mind. Like I'm starting with what I want on the other end. So the relationship that I have with them that's very hard for the general public is when I'm going to be with them, I have something to teach you. And then from there, I need to get away from you. So that's that crate comes in to where, my kennel is, if I'm not going to teach you, you're put up. Because they're learning no matter what they're doing, they're learning. So if we're at home and we do a really good 15, 20-minute workout with them and we think, boy, that was awesome, and now we go sit on the deck, sit in the chair, have a beer, and play on our cell phone, that puppy is still learning. And all of a sudden, he's neck deep in a garbage can, and we're wondering why. Well, we just allowed that stuff to happen.
A couple things to avoid with puppies would be extensive verbal commands at this point. I noticed you guys never really said a word to that dog, that puppy that was out there. What happens if you start trying to communicate like a human with the puppy?
You become a distraction.
Yeah, there's really no need for sound in the beginning because there's no learned behavior yet. So we always try to tie here, come, sit, down, kennel, place with the learned behavior. But we teach that behavior first, then we name it in the end. So if a dog doesn't understand what you're doing, or a dog doesn't associate this, as place, just action-wise, there's no reason to put a name to it yet. You want to see success over and over and over, then name what they're doing. So the verbal to us is kind of useless in the beginning. It just complicates the learning experience for the dog.
At what point then if you ask them to sit, at what point do you say sit?
When they can do it on their own or on that lead, with just body language and touch, and we can reinforce it, then we'll name it in the human language. And if the dog doesn't sit, we have a way to reinforce it at that point. So now sit has a valuable sound to it, or here, or come. So if we can reinforce that command, we'll start saying it. And then if the dog doesn't do it, we can reinforce. And that's just keeping value to the human language.
And it has to maintain value. So I don't use it a bunch. Like I'm the
Verbal commands.
The truth of the matter is I don't use my voice at all. Like when I was guiding, my voice was almost never used until it needed to be used. And when it was used, it had a purpose. It wasn't just a bunch of noise or a bunch of fluff or just a bunch of chatter. If I talked, there was something to be said.
All right. We're going to get into that next week because there's a whole lot more that these dogs are going to learn over the course of weeks and months to come. We've got a puppy. That was a great puppy. That was a wonderful little puppy there. I'm excited for the future of that dog. I've hunted with Rip. What a stud he is as well. We're going to get to that point in the next couple of episodes. We'll talk fetch. We'll talk e-collar, recall, some of these obedience that the dog is going to grow bigger. It's going to push the boundaries, and you have to maintain that leadership role. So we'll dig into that next week and the week after. Appreciate all of this. If anybody wants more information about puppies or about what you're hearing here, if you don't want to wait until next week, I don't blame you. You can go to J. Wells Kennel on social and online. You can also, even though you're not training with people's dogs right now, Sonny, you're doing you're doing detection work
with obedience, and then we do a lot of one-on-one training.
You do? Okay.
Yeah.
So they can find you at Hay Creek Kennels, and you're in Wisconsin, Gilman,
Yes,
Wisconsin.
Gilman, Wisconsin.
So not too far from the Twin Cities if somebody lives in the Twin Cities. George, I know you never turn down a phone call if somebody calls you to talk about dogs.
Yep.
Where do they find you?
Through you.
Okay. If you reach out to me, I will put you in touch with George. I've sent a lot of people your way, but you do have a full-time job too. So
Yeah. I don't have a website. I mean, you could find me on Instagram, I guess. You can find me on Facebook. You could send me a message.
Just look for the black cowboy hat.
Look for the black cowboy hat.
And also, the three of you are going to be having a seminar in Connecticut, Wisconsin, and Minnesota this summer, so people can come. They can bring their dog. They can learn firsthand. Everything that we talk about here is just the beginning as to what you guys have developed in your seminars and how much you're able to teach there. I've seen it. My wife went there with our dog. She came back. A lot of our listeners that have gone to your seminars have mentioned just how much value that's been to them. So that's taken this to a whole nother level. Next week, we're talking some more foundation and obedience, e-collars, recall, fetch, woe training, and the obstacle course. We're going to get into a whole lot more next week on another episode of the Flush Podcast.